How do you express yourself? Through the clothing that you wear? The music that you listen to? Or perhaps it's through the books that you read? For me, it's a little bit of all of the above, but most of all, it's through my home. As silly as it may sound, it's a very vulnerable thing for me to invite someone into my home because it's like I'm inviting them to take a peek into my head and my heart. Perhaps that is why I fell in love with home renovation projects. The ability to create a reflection of myself with my own two hands feels just as empowering as it is rewarding to see and live in the end result. But of course, not everyone has the time or the tools for big home rental projects, especially nowadays when most of us are renting. The easiest hacks with the biggest impacts make much more sense. So here are some ways that you can refresh your home in just a few minutes or over a weekend. Chances are you already have a fully furnished home and you don't want to spend any more money on swapping out furniture. The easiest way to switch things up is then to move the things you already have around. Maybe change the layout of a room, or simply steal pieces from one room to another. It could also be as simple as moving a piece of decor from one shelf to another. You'll be thoroughly surprised by how this little change can breathe new life into the entire space. My point is, you could go as simple or as crazy as you want, and the best part is that it won't cost you a cent. In tangent to the first idea, you could instead zero in on a single shelf to restyle, whether for the season, or just to make it feel more you. Personally, I love an eclectic collection of things to give that lived-in cozy vibe. The formula for me is always books, candles, design objects, art, and greenery. If you live in a rental where you can't put up any wall shelves, pick any flat surface to style instead. It could be your table, the top of a cabinet, even your refrigerator. If it brings you joy, it has achieved its purpose. If you've never been to a thrift store or the flea market, perhaps this weekend is finally the time. Mixing old and new decor gives a nostalgic look that is really homely and comforting. A little tip that I have is to do a little bit of research beforehand to get the best deals. For example, seek out second-hand stores rather than antique stores because chances are that the latter will have much higher prices. Certain flea markets, especially the ones that have a theme or happen annually versus weekly, will also tend to feature vendors with higher prices.
$139.
Wow! If you live around München or Nürnberg, I have a list down below of my favorite affordable flea markets and second-hand stores. When designing our kitchen on a budget, we knew that there were some appliances that just had to live on the counter. So we really took the time to hunt for appliances that both fulfilled our functional needs and fit the home aesthetic. This way, in our eyes, rather than sticking out like a sore thumb, the appliances contribute to the whole kitchen design. Take time to hunt for everyday items that perfectly fit your home aesthetic. You have probably heard it 1,000 times before, but paint really can make all the difference. And the best thing is, there are so many ways you can paint a room. Do a half wall, or just the ceiling, color drench, or paint a fun pattern using some painter's tape. You get it. There are a million ways to play with paint. A question I often get is how to pick a paint color. 3 keywords to remember here: inspiration, size, lighting. Start by looking around your own home. It could be your favorite piece of art, a rug, or even a piece of decor. Those are likely to be the colors that you're drawn to. Then, consider the size of the space. Let's say it's a smaller room. If you want it to feel bigger and brighter, go light. If you want to embrace the cozy caveness of the room, go dark and moody. And lastly, always test it with different lighting. I'm referring to the natural light across the time of the day and any artificial lighting that you'll use every day in the space. Adding texture to a wall adds another level of dimension and interest to the room. Again, there are so many ways to do it, and often it'll take no longer than a weekend to complete. For my fellow renters, command strips are your best friend. In our old apartment, I made a board and batten feature wall with Velcro command strips that took less than a minute to take down, and there were 0 holes to be patched. Hanging a piece of tapestry is also another easy renter-friendly way to bring a lot of warmth to the space. If you're handy with a circular saw and a nail gun, you could also create faux shiplap with some MDF boards and simply add a few nails that are super easy to patch whenever you do move out. If your landlord is super strict and you aren't allowed to paint or even put a few nails into the walls, don't worry. You can still create that quintessential warm and cozy look by adding color and patterns through all your fabrics. I'm talking about everything from your tea towels, to your hand towels, to your bath towels. Take every single opportunity you have to add a splash of fun, because nobody needs to live in a white box if they don't want to. Don't be afraid to mix and match different window treatments across your home, because realistically, every space has different needs. For us, we have blinds in the living room and the bedroom to deliver privacy and also block out the heat during hot summers, because if you live in Germany like us, you most likely don't have AC. We picked ones in oak veneer finishings that are renter-friendly and even come with a cover for a finished look. In the dining room, we chose sheer curtains to add a softness to the space. A controversial window treatment that I put up at the start of the year, but still absolutely love, are these window films. Passerbys used to be able to look through our entire home through these windows, but now we get the privacy that we very much needed, and we still get enough light for ourselves and our plants. The pattern is also a hit of nostalgia for me, because it reminds me of the traditional coffee houses where I grew up. More often than not, whenever I finish decorating a room, I always feel like something is missing until I add a plant, or maybe 5. But keep in mind to find a space for your plant instead of a plant for your space. If the spot you have is sunny, pick a fiddle leaf fig, a dwarf umbrella tree, or a pencil cactus, and they are likely to thrive. For low light areas, the ZZ plant and snake plant are famous for being hard to kill. I pot most of my plants in terracotta pots because they help a lot with drainage, and I honestly think that they are a big reason why I haven't killed a single plant in the last few years. The easiest way to add some depth to a room is to hang a mirror. They make small spaces feel bigger, and when placed opposite a light source, they help to enhance the overall lighting in the room. Our old apartment was pretty dark, so we hung all the mirrors opposite windows to bounce off as much light as possible, and they really did make a huge difference. We also framed the arch mirror in the hallway with some paint to give it a level of playfulness. Likewise, you could play with different shapes and sizes of mirrors to add a level of drama that your space needs. This is probably the easiest DIY because all you really need is a screwdriver and knobs that are as expensive or affordable as you want them to be. You could also easily update some handles with spray paint or even rub and buff, like what I did for a chest of drawers that I thrifted. Alternatively, a renter-friendly hack I have is to add peel and stick or vinyl around existing flat handles to change it into something that feels more you. We weren't feeling the chrome handles in our old kitchen, so I spent a few hours to turn them into brass and was also pleasantly surprised by how well they held up. If you have the budget and commitment, look into upgrading other hardware like your faucets, door handles, and even vent covers to really give your home a polished look. Sometimes, what we really need is to organize the insides of our cabinets in order to feel refreshed. The biggest obstacle for me is always to start because I tend to want to do a lot at one go. But more often than not, starting small has always worked out better for me. Instead of reorganizing the entire kitchen, maybe just pack that Tupperware drawer you've been avoiding or introduce smarter organization systems under your sink. If you want a creative project, spend a few hours during the weekend and add pretty wallpaper to the insides of your cabinets or drawers. I promise you that you'll feel happy and accomplished each time you open that door. Maybe you're like me and you enjoy spending a lot of time and effort into creating a home that feels like you. Or maybe you're a firm believer of doing the bare minimum in a rental. Then sure, find low-cost hacks to make your space feel a little more comforting. Ultimately, it's really up to you to decide how you want your home to feel like. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.